You got to see Alex Scott, one of the highest rated prospects in the entire country, day in, day out. And he's been linked with a ton of Premier League clubs, including Wolves. Just how good is he? And obviously it's not up to you, but would you like to play with him again?
Absolutely. I think if I was asked, I'd say get the checkbook out. But that's not my decision. And I've got nothing but good things to say about Scotty. Yeah, it'd be nice to be there as a home player and actually get cheered rather than booed as I go down the bottom end. It's a great atmosphere, absolutely fantastic atmosphere.
Obviously, he's managed with Spain and Real Madrid, and he's been able to turn things around pretty quickly here. They're calling it the Lopetegui effect. Can you see that? Have you seen that the couple months you've been there?
He's very, very good. Very, very good.
So hello and welcome back to the SJMoores Podcast. And on this one today, we've got a banging episode for you guys. I got the chance to speak to current Wolves goalkeeper and former Bristol City, Brentford and Southend goalkeeper Dan Bentley, where myself and Olly D'Arcy, who's obviously been on the podcast before, he was on the Super Bowl special. We got the chance to speak to Dan for about 15 minutes or so before going into sort of like a press conference style interview with the rest of my sports journalism course at the University of Gloucestershire. So obviously straight away, thank you to Wolves, thank you to the uni, thank you to Brendan as well for setting up this opportunity for us to talk to obviously a current Premier League player. And obviously he's not playing the Premier League yet. He's the number 2 to Joseph at the moment. But just a chance to speak to someone who's there, currently footballer as we have done throughout the start of the course. So thank you very much. But without further ado, let's get into my interview with a player of over 400 career games in the EFL. And obviously was captain at Bristol City for 18 months as well. We talk all things Wolves, having joined obviously in the January window. We talk also as Bristol City exit. And we also talk about Alex Scott, who obviously is a very hot topic at the moment, with obviously Wolves actually being linked with Alex Scott. So without further ado, let's get into the Dan Bentley interview.
Hi Dan, you alright?
Yeah, good man, how are you?
How was training? Did it all go well this morning?
Chilly this morning. We're caught in a bit of a blizzard, so it was just a matter of trying to stay warm where possible.
Yeah. You feeling good for Sunday, all prep, ready to go?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, it's early on in the week at the moment, but yeah, prep's already begun. The minute we step away from the Spurs game, prep begins. Whether that's recovery or a bit of extra work for the boys that need it, and then thought instantly turns to the next game, and that is such as the nature of football, really, not just this division or any other divisions. That's the nature of football. It's on one, focus on that. Everything goes into one game, and then very quickly focus changes and shifts to the next one.
Yeah, there's a big 3 points, especially at home against Tottenham. Obviously it's still, you'd call it a survival bid, but going up the table a bit, that was obviously a big 3 points. Is that help the mood in the changing room, help training through for prep on Sunday?
Yeah, I think it always helps when you win any mood. In terms of reactions from games in moods, I'm one that I don't get too low when we lose and not too high when we win, and that sounds a little bit cliche, a little bit of a generic answer, but there is a lot of truth in that, because if you're too emotional one way or another, so that's positive wise or negative wise, you can really kind of feel that the emotions drag on too long into the next game, and like I just said there, I obviously made reference to you're on one game and within a day or two you're on to the next game, and the focus shifts very quickly. If you're too emotional and too attached to the game previous, you could be losing focus on what's to come. So I think it's important to enjoy the good moments, make sure we celebrate when things are good, analyse when things aren't so good, but it's also having a consistency and a medium, if you like, a medium mood in which you can refer back to and make sure that it's consistent throughout the season.
Yeah. You're now a Premier League player for the first time in your career. Obviously, it must be a nice feeling.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm not sitting here with the view that I'm now a Premier League player. It might sound a little bit strange, but in my opinion, I'm a Premier League player when I've played in the Premier League. Yes, I'm at a Premier League club, and I'm very privileged to be here, and I'm very proud of my journey in football and the route that it's taken for me to finally achieve a dream of being at a Premier League club. But that doesn't necessarily mean that I've now cracked it. That just means that it's another achievement that I can say I've achieved and ticked off, if you like, with regards to being in the Premier League and at a Premier League club. Now the next aim is to play in the Premier League, and then the next aim after that will be to continue playing the Premier League. And then there's all the individual accolades and the team accolades that come along with doing so. So I've been one that's always been motivated by playing. That hasn't changed. I didn't come here to sit on the bench. I came here to compete. And yeah, it's a great place to be, and I'm very happy to be.
You say that you obviously want to compete for a starting job. You joined in January when you knew the Carabao Cup, when Wolves were knocked out of the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup. How do you approach that, knowing that there are no more cup competitions for you to play and that you have to push past Jose Sarr and goal to get that starting job in the Premier League?
As much as I didn't join to be on the bench, I didn't join to be a cup keeper either. I joined to compete in the most important, most high pressure games, and the every week Premier League battle, if you will, is where probably the most high pressured games lie. Obviously, that's with all due respect to the cups, no problem at all. But if I had my choice, I'd play the cups and in the Premier League. I want to play every single game available. So yeah, I think in terms of me joining, knowing that the cups were no longer going to be a figure going forward, that was fine with me, because like I said, I'm not joined to just play in the cups and fulfil that role. My role here is to compete, to play every single game.
Have you learned anything from Sarr or any of the other keepers, or Tony Roberts as a keeping coach after coming here in January?
Yeah, Tony. I left a very good coach in Pat Mountain at Bristol City, who I got on very, very well with, and knew my game inside and out. I knew his coaching and training methods inside and out, and I have utmost respect for Pat. We still chat. I get along very, very well with him, and he helped me develop no end in the time that I was at Bristol City. However, sometimes when you're with someone for that amount of time, it can be nice to freshen things up for him as well, by the way. So he's now obviously focusing on Max and Nikita, who's obviously gone in there, and Harvey, who's obviously still young and developing as well. So his focus has now shifted, and he's got a slightly different challenge with Max as what he had to me. So and that works simultaneously for me as well. I'm now with a goalkeeper coach who will expect slightly different things, who will demand slightly different things, whose methods are slightly different, who will bring other things out of me that maybe a fresh eye cast on me will be able to bring out of me. So in terms of, have I learned anything? Yeah, I've picked things up so far, of course. And I think I'll be doing Tony Roberts a disservice if I'd have said no, by the way. But no, he's been great since I've been here. He's got a keen eye for detail. And in terms of learning from the other keepers, I think in terms of, I'd be ignorant to say that there's things that Jose does that I wouldn't say, oh, that's really good. I can implement some of that into my game, and that's not necessarily saying I'm gonna learn from him and copy him. I'm sure if you asked him, it'd be a similar kind of response in which that you can learn from any goalkeepers, whether they're old, young, experienced, inexperienced, and you can pick things up and traits and add them to your game in ways that they may suit you and may add positivity to your game.
Yeah. You joined in January, roughly similar time to when Julian Lopetegui came in as head coach and manager. Obviously, he's managed with Spain and Real Madrid, and he's been able to turn things around pretty quickly here. They're calling it the Lopetegui effect. Can you see that? Have you seen that the couple of months you've been there?
He's very, very good. Very, very good. There's obviously I'm not going to start talking about methods and exactly, every single kind of detail that he brings, but he's very, very meticulous. Looks into a lot of detail. He's very demanding. He knows what he wants, and I think he knows how to bring the best out of his players. And that's the most credit I could give a manager. He certainly has a positive effect on me personally, for sure. And from what I've seen so far and what I've heard, obviously prior to my arrival, he's come in and had a very, very positive effect. So, that's the highest accolade I think I could give him.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Hi, Dan. I'll start with a few Bristol City questions first before going into Wolves. I'm sure your time at City wouldn't have ended, and quite how you liked it to. 3.5 years is quite a long time in football, and from the message you wrote after leaving, there's clearly an affinity there with the club, especially when being captain. Now it's been like a month or so. If I could just get your thoughts on everything that panned out, and obviously your new horizon in Wolves.
Yeah, well, that message. I think a lot of times now you see a PR team or a media team write a message from a player which is kind of a little bit generic, thanking the fans and blah 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 blah. That was actually written by me, and I'd sent that to Dave Barton, the comms manager at Bristol City. So in terms of heartfelt, yeah, it really was. It was almost with a heavy heart that I left the club, because I did have such an affinity there, and that's not just with the players or the fans or the city. Both my daughters were born there, should I say, and I had a really good 3.5 years there. Obviously, being 18 months of that time was spent as captain, which is a real privilege and an honour for me. Obviously, I got Player of the Year there in I think it was the second year, again, which was a huge honour. So if I look back on my time, it's very, very fondly. I had a really good time, a really good relationship with all the players and staff, the manager included. There was never, I've got nothing negative to say about my time at Bristol City at all. The city, I absolutely love living there. I was settled, it was home for me. And the fans always greatly, gratefully from my point of view, received me really well and supported me. And it was all very positive. So in terms of leaving, it was difficult in some ways. But obviously, when I've got the opportunity to come and realise or get a step closer to what my dream is, which is playing in the Premier League, and join a fantastic club such as Wolves, then it softened the blow a little bit, if you like, of leaving somewhere where I could call home. But no, joining here the last month has been fantastic. I've settled in really, really well. I found my role within the group really well, in terms of, someone who is senior in terms of experience and dare I say at age, albeit at the tender age of 29. But I'm an experienced lad who's played a lot of games throughout my career so far. So I think I have a lot to offer in terms of that leadership role, and in terms of slotting into the group. It's been pretty seamless, to be fair. My family and I now have moved and now live up here. So we're all settled and I'm very, very happy.
You mentioned obviously the goal of playing the Premier League eventually. During your time with City, you got to see Alex Scott, one of the highest rated prospects in the entire country, day in, day out, and he's been linked with a ton of Premier League clubs, including Wolves. Just how good is he? And obviously it's not up to you, but would you like to play with him again?
Absolutely. I think if I was asked, I'd say get the checkbook out, but that's not my decision. And I've got nothing but good things to say about Scotty. Absolutely phenomenal player with the world at his feet. I've seen all the plaudits recently. I've watched. I mean, we we had a training day. We played on the Friday night, so I watched we had Fulham on the Friday night, so I watched the whole game, whole Bristol City, whole City on Robin's TV. I've watched the Man City game. I watched the game last night against Huddersfield. So yeah, I keep a close eye on the results, and it'll be the first result I look for outside of ours, of course. Still got very close friends there. Thomas Callas, who's obviously unfortunately just got an injury, which I've been speaking to him a lot about, and just making sure his spirits are high. Cameron Pring, I'm very close with as well, and been speaking to him. Obviously, he's been playing fantastically well. Harvey Wiles-Richards is another one who I'm very close with, and I'm trying to help and support and guide him as a senior figure, which is obviously what I was to him, and someone for him to look up to. I didn't want him to lose that figure, and I know he's got that in Max and in other experienced players in the group. But when I left the club, I didn't want to just kind of up and leave what I would call my responsibilities to my peers and people that I have a lot of respect for and people that I like and got on with. So in response to your question about Alex, yes, he can go all the way, and so he should, because he's a magnificent player.
Awesome, thank you. On to Wolves now. You actually, when joining the club, you mentioned that one of your most distinct memories at Molineux was being on the receiving end of a thumping whilst at Brentford. Now you've been in the squad, on match days and everything. What do you feel about the ground now? I mean, I bet you can't wait to play there as well.
Yeah, it'd be nice to be there as a home player and actually get cheered rather than booed as I go down the bottom end. It's a great atmosphere, absolutely fantastic atmosphere. I mean, we've had two massive results at home in terms of Spurs and Liverpool, in which the atmospheres on both of those games was fantastic. But even in the games, the more disappointing game of Bournemouth, the fans stuck with us and were great. But yeah, like you say, I'm itching to get out there and perform in front of them all, and show everybody what I can do.
And just one final question from me. With obviously being the captain previously, what qualities do you feel that you can bring to the squad, or you have already brought to the squad at Wolves?
Well, it's obviously in terms of my ability as a player, that's first and foremost. Like I said, pushing, and if I'm pushing to play, that means that Jose's level has got to be high for him to stay in the team. I believe we've got a manager here that will make changes if he deems necessary, and that's regardless of age, experience, or whatever the case may be. He will play players who, first of all, prove themselves, and second of all, that he believes in. And that goes for old, young, proven, unproven, whatever the case may be. So in terms of what I can bring, obviously, like I say, as a player, first and foremost is my ability and what I bring as a goalkeeper, and how I can help the team in that way. And then secondly, as a leader, you made reference to there, I was the captain of Bristol City, and so leadership is something that comes very natural to me, whether that's offering advice, whether that's demanding more from people in training, demanding more in games, making sure standards are high, helping the captain, which is Ruben Neves, is a captain, so whether that's helping him in the dressing room with leasing it, if you will, which is quite an easy job, because it's a change room full of good, experienced pros who conduct themselves in a very very professional manner. So all those little things that aren't necessarily visible to the general public on a daily basis are things that are all natural to me.
Thanks, Dan. All the best.
Pleasure. Thank you.
So that was interesting, wasn't it? That's I thought it was a really good chat, actually, and obviously being familiar with Dan, myself having watched Bristol City over the years, it was nice to finally talk to someone who you've actually watched a lot of games of, so thank you for the uni and everyone for setting that up. Thank you for Wolves as well for obviously giving us a time to talk to Dan. And I mean, ultimately, I thought everything he said was pretty interesting. Obviously, there's I was surprised as to how much he actually opened up about his time in City. Talking about the fact it was a home to him, and where obviously he never thought he'd see the day, I guess. of leaving City, but it looks like he's settled into Wolves at the moment very well, and is offering some much needed leadership to that dressing room, alongside the likes of Ruben Neves, etc., in their relegation fight. But yeah, like I said, that's all we've got time for today. Thank you for listening, or if you've been watching on YouTube, thank you for watching the podcast. I'll be back in the next couple of weeks with an NFL draft preview, and then we'll just go from there, really. But yeah, it's nice to be doing the podcast regularly again. I have missed it, and obviously we've been going for a whole year now, so that's a good milestone to hit. Having hit the last podcast being published in the Bahrain Grand Prix 1 year ago. So yeah, thank you for sticking with me for a year. Obviously you've done pretty good numbers for a year. I can't lie, I'm pretty happy with the streaming numbers, as well as obviously everyone who watches along on YouTube. But yeah, thank you for sticking with the podcast. And we've got some good content coming up over the next couple of months before the NFL season starts again. I'll have a bit more on football as well, but without further ado, I'm rambling on here. Thank you for listening to the SJMoores Podcast. I've been Sam, and I will see you next time.